Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Studios today. I am Rory Jackson, and we have in the booth
What's
Quentin
up, everybody?
Foxworth.
Q, what's up, guys?
And we have some guests today that we find very interesting and provide some great value and wealth of information. And considering everything that's going on in the world today, we definitely want to get it out and share it with you. So we would like at this point to welcome Rick Vasquez and Fred Piry from Active Crisis Consulting. Welcome today, gentlemen. Thanks for having you guys here.
How you doing, guys?
And
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Roy.
Welcome.
Awesome. Welcome, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with your guys' background, if you guys don't mind. Maybe, Rick, you can take the lead. Just give us a little background on who you are and what exactly Active Crisis does.
Rick Vasquez, once again, I work for Bureau of ATF. I work for Dipmac Security, where Fred Piry and I work together. And I had a 21-year career in the Marines. Many of my years have revolved around doing security protocols and processes. And after leaving government service, we formed Active Crisis Consulting, where we put in place what we learned through all these different security processes that we've served in over the years. And in a small nutshell, that's kind of what we do right now.
Awesome. And what about your background, Fred?
A former Marine myself. I did a career of close to 20 years with diplomatic security, serving in a variety of positions over my career. I spent close to 4 years in mobile security deployments. That's their tactical team. We did a lot of overseas deployments, also domestically here for high threat protective details. We worked with a lot of different units. We spent a lot of time doing training. We've also done mobile training teams. I spent a tour running the Global Anti-Terrorist Assistance Program, where we provide training to friendly foreign country units. And I was a special agent in charge of Madeleine Albright's protective detail. And towards the end of my career, I was the director of the Worldwide Protective Services contract that ran the WPS program. We provided contractors, protected President Karzai over in Afghanistan. We had Preval, we had in Haiti, we had Aristide in Haiti that we were responsible for. And now that WPS program is close to probably $9 billion and has contractors in high threat places around the world. When I left there, I went as a chief operating officer with a company called SOC, where we did government contracting. We were on the WPS program. I had won the Baghdad Embassy security contract there. And we also ran the High Desert Special Operations Center down in Hawthorne, Nevada, and we did training for some Tier 1 groups and Special Forces.
Awesome.
So Rick and I, and along with Jared, our third partner, started up Active Crisis Consulting, where we utilized all our background, all our contacts to be able to tailor training, security, even logistics to government, nonprofit, churches, and commercial clients.
Okay.
So Rick, this is Q. Obviously, dealing with a once in a lifetime crisis in the country right now. What do you offer specifically for people out there that are dealing with the crisis right now? What services do you offer?
And we definitely want to let people understand that we don't only work for the corporate world or for the government. We also provide this service for the public and for churches, as Fred said earlier. What we offer is we can come in to your facility and provide any type of training that you need or desire. We have a 10-point plan that we posted on our website, and we'll go through those 10-point plan quickly today. But I'll give you an example. One of the things I did a couple years ago was a client had some very high-end product that needed to be moved, and I took that product, rented a vehicle, moved it in a very quiet manner over a period of 3 months, so that nobody knew that this product was being moved, because he couldn't trust the people that he had hired before. So we could come into a facility, set up complete line of security, do a survey. We can. You have to move your child out of college, and you can't get there. You can't get them on an airline. We have retired special agents, retired Tier 1 Marines and SEALs that are on call to us, and we can move that person for you. Or you even have to make a meeting that you can't get an airline to. If necessary, we could drive across the country. But we have people in place that can do this, and very reliable persons. If we had to do it ourselves, then we would do it ourselves. So the other thing is, Jared is going to come in on Wednesday, and you haven't met him yet. Jared lived in China for 5 years and set up, billion-dollar business operations. And he has stayed on top of the coronavirus to the point where I listen to him more than some of these talking heads on TV. So that's the other type of thing we can do. We can educate you on some of the things that are out there and what do you really need to do in this situation.
All right, so this is from the booth. Just as a producer, I want to ask this question to either Fred or Rick. Given the crisis state that the world is currently experiencing, what 5 things would you advise your average civilian do to make sure they protect themselves from a firearm standpoint, to be ready if and when things should escalate from here?
That's a good question. I'm going to let Rick handle the firearms thing, but this is a perfect time to talk about some of the training that we had at the State Department or Diplomatic Security. And when Rick served as a deck commander with MSG, he was seconded with the State Department, so he'll understand what I'm talking about. And that is a safe haven. You hear a lot about preppers, you hear all these different terms, but the safe haven is an area that you have in your home that you can go to where you have ample amount of food, water, and weapons to be able to, lack of a better term, hunker down. And it's not like you need years and years worth of stuff, but in every embassy we have safe havens. We learn from the tragic events in Benghazi about fire and fire prevention. So now the diplomatic security agents are trained extensively in fire prevention, because generally they lock down and you wait until the good guys come to get you. And in that case, things had changed because the good guys really never came. So they had to hunker down, and they got smoked out because of the diesel fuel and the fire and stuff. But here with this pandemic, remain calm, make sure you have a good adequate food supply for 3 to 4 weeks, enough water. I don't know why everyone's running around buying toilet paper.
Yeah, the toilet paper thing we don't get either.
One of the essential thing as much as food and water. And, ammunition, I'll let, Rick talk about that. I mean, people are stockpiling guns and stockpiling ammunition. Quite frankly, you only have 2 hands. So you don't need a variety of things. Good shotgun, good handgun is. I'll defer over to Rick to talk more on the firearms portion of that. But again, people are stockpiling all kinds of different medicines. Rick and I were just talking about some of the YouTube remedies and all this misinformation that's out there about the coronavirus. But social distancing, your family, hunker down inside your house, go out for some air every once in a while, but, canned goods, stable items that will give you enough energy, and along with water. And everyone stay calm, and you should be able to survive this pandemic.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about the firearms. You only got 2 hands, because I was just having a conversation with somebody last night when I told them, I said, hey, you got a safe full of guns. You probably got about 20 different weapons in there. start thinking to yourself, if you had to grab and go, what three
Exactly.
weapons you take with you. Because, literally, like Fred just said, you can't carry everything with you. So you got to think about what's going to be the most versatile weapon, what you're most comfortable with. If we were in a situation where, you were trying to find ammo, what's going to be the most common ammo you can find, things like that. But Rick, I'll let you elaborate a little bit on your thoughts on that.
I'm going to cover about 3 or 4 points of our bullets, and I'm going to hit on number 7. I'm kind of going reverse. Is first aid. Everybody's buying toilet paper, but are you buying bandages? And we talk about first aid. You're not going to be a doctor. You're not going to be an EMT. But what happens if you have a massive wound on your leg, your arm, that if you stop the bleeding, you can save a person's life? Buy a ready tourniquet. Go online, buy it. These things are so easy nowadays. You strap it in place. It gives you something to turn it, shut the bleeding off. Get training online. Everybody's offering it. You can get simple training, how to bandage a person, how to give CPR. Get it done. Right now, you're sitting at home. You might as well do it. And once again, the first aid kit with tourniquets. You don't need a first aid kit like all the guys are going around and saying, hey, I got my corona. I'm going to beat my coronavirus. Take this serious. Now, one of the things that modern persons in a home don't do, because the way homes are built today, they don't know how to get out of their house other than the front door. And I'm going to ask this question, and you guys, everybody here, take this to heart. Who has opened up their windows in their house recently? No one. Well, not no one, because I do. How do my windows open? How can I get out of my house? You're not always going to get out of the door. And there's persons who don't even know if their windows are locked permanently, have been painted shut. And if you're worried about an attack and they come into your front door or your rear door, you want your children to try to escape. And along with that, what is your escape plan? Do you know your neighbor's phone number? Do you know how close your neighbor is? Do you know how long it takes for 911 to get to your house? And the majority of the people do not know those answers. And the makeup of your building, Fred hit it right there. Can somebody just throw a very simple jar of gasoline through your window and burn your house down immediately? Do you have a plan for that? We're going to post all of these online, but that was a perfect time to hit on these. And now I'm going to hit on firearms. And this is a perfect opportunity, if you don't mind, for me to give a call out for Arsenal for allowing us to do this this podcast. Arsenal is a producer of very high-end firearms. They're a world-renowned name. They are state-of-the-art AKs, state-of-the-art shotguns, and their development team. They're developing new and more modernistic firearms on a daily basis. I've been very fortunate to work with them. They're designing things as we speak today. So if you do want to buy an AK-type firearm or a handgun, look up Arsenal online. Now, that being said, everybody's buying a handgun, and Fred has asked this question to people in churches and into other communities, and I have also. Are you willing to shoot someone? Are you willing to stab someone? And if you have to hesitate to answer that question, don't buy a firearm, because a firearm is only going to get you in trouble. Somebody's going to take it away from you and use it against you, or take it away from you, or use it in a crime. So now that all this crisis is happening and people are running to buy a firearm, now what are you going to do? You need to get sophisticated training. Bubba, who's given a 45-minute training, who basically you may fire one magazine, that isn't training. That is just shooting your firearm, and you haven't really learned how to load and unload it. Get sophisticated training. Plan on fighting back. If you're going to draw your gun, there's only one reason to draw that firearm. That is to attack in reverse. Don't go into defensive mode, because once again, you're going to lose the fight. Attack forward if you have to draw your firearm. So when it comes to a specific firearm, don't just go in and purchase the last firearm that's on the shelf. you need to fit it to your hand. I mean, we talk about hands. My hands, I can shoot any type of firearm because of the size of them. Fred's been trained; he can shoot any type of firearm. But you have a young lady in there that has never held a firearm, has never done any type of manual labor. She needs to be cautious of what she purchases because she has to be able to shoot it, and she has to be able to manipulate all of the safeties and triggers and sights that are on it. So you, once again, purchase a firearm with cautious. Don't run out and buy a spur of the moment purchase.
Rick, you mentioned about, you spoke about running away should there be a home invasion. Now, rather than an escape plan, which we should all have, what if you want to stand your ground instead? What self-defense firearm can you recommend?
Well, I'm going to recommend a couple of different firearms. I'm going to recommend pistols, which include revolvers, and shotguns. I'll go with shotguns first. First of all, we're not fighting the Viet Cong. You're not going to be invaded, so you don't need 10 million rounds of ammunition. And I'm going to use my wife as an example. I've been instructing firearms for over 40 years, and my wife has only shot with me twice in those 40 years. So I keep a loaded a loaded pistol all the time I travel with the safety off, and I tell her, just shoot into the door frame. There's no one else in the house, so we've already talked about this. So shoot into the door. The noise is 99% of the time going to scare people out of your house. So you got to I use a semi-automatic instead of a revolver because of the capacity. Now the shotgun. You don't need a 12-gauge shotgun for home defense. And that's one of the things when you're trying to prepare your family, prepare them for something that they can manipulate. So if you get a 20-gauge shotgun or even a 410 that has 3 to 5 rounds pumped semi-automatic, and if you shoot in the direction of the person that is invading your house, the sound of a shotgun inside of a house is extremely loud and will deter somebody from entering. Now, of course, you have to be able to and the will to shoot that person, not just scare them. So I say pointing at the door for the simple reason that some people do not want to shoot. But if you're willing to shoot that person, of course, aim it at them. So you can structure a shotgun, make it shorter than normal, make it one of these pistol grip type firearms that's only 26 inches. Those are extremely good home defense firearms for the simple reason that even if you don't hit somebody, that noise and the violence of the impact of the shot that's coming out of the shotgun is going to make 99% of the people run away. The professional home invader who doesn't care about killing people, you're going to have to kill that person or he's going to kill you regardless of what you're armed with.
Right. I always tend to tell everybody, too, usually that noise of you just cocking a shotgun in your house will typically scare anybody away because they know that, close range, a shotgun blast is definitely going to cause some damage. But I want to touch on some points that you guys were talking about, definitely, especially here locally, and maybe some things that, we here at the Arsenal family have been a little bit concerned about as we've seen going on lately. And I'll definitely add to what you were saying about our company as well, Rick. I mean, nobody makes a more reliable AK on the planet, in our opinion, than Arsenal. And if, you had to buy one of them, definitely, ours would be the choice. Pretty much everybody here in the building that's into guns owns one. I got a couple myself, and I've never had an issue with them. And, but inside the home, obviously, it's a different thing. But if I was outside the home, I'd definitely be having the world's most reliable AK with me. So, but to talk about a couple things, the mindset and stuff like that, the thing I think a lot of us here are worried about is the gun stores have seen an overage of just tons and tons of people coming in that have never purchased firearms before. And just like you said, Rick, the mindset, you have to have is, could I actually take this weapon and use it as a tool to kill somebody if I had to defend myself or my family? I don't think a lot of people are thinking about that. They're thinking, if I got a gun, that's just going to be enough to scare somebody away. But in reality, if that other person has a gun and they're not afraid to use it, then, boom, you're done. And with all this panic buying going on, I think my biggest concern personally is that nobody's getting training. Like they're going in the store. I was in one yesterday up in North Las Vegas, and the guy asked the guy behind the counter when he was picking up his firearm, he's like, "Oh, well, how do you load this thing? How do you, what's the best way to, handle this? What should I do if I need to shoot somebody with it?" And it was just like mind blowing to me that somebody walked into a store, had never touched a firearm in their life, and, they were just thinking that they could just take it home and it would protect them, when in reality, if you don't have that training behind there of even how to properly handle the firearm, how to treat the firearm, as a loaded weapon at all times, and other, essentials that they need to know, if they don't have that training, then when it comes time for them to use that firearm, people like yourselves and myself and other people in the building here that have had quite a bit of training, we're going to have the advantage if something were to ever happen. So that mindset that people are having right now that the gun is going to protect them is completely false. You need that training behind it. A common question, we always get in the building here from the ladies in the office is, what handgun should I buy? If I don't want to buy a full-on shotgun because it's a lot for me to carry, or maybe they just don't want the recoil or whatever. So we typically try and point them in the direction of the Rex Delta pistol.
Hey, Roy, let me jump in. So that one that you just mentioned is amazing. I got a couple of people actually, my wife actually bought one for Christmas, and a couple other people that I know, a couple of females that I know bought that Delta, and they love it, man. And especially now, if you go check out the prices, oh my God.
Oh yeah, kvar.com has got them dirt cheap right now.
Man, they are like
dirt cheap.
It's amazing because they're like High Point Taurus prices, but the gun is 10 times the quality of those brands.
Yeah, I found that, when I actually went out and shot it a little while back, the quality of it was right on par with, a Glock, I would say.
Yeah.
Just right up there with the quality. It was nice polymer handgun. It was lightweight, held 17 rounds. Some guns that size of the AREX Delta don't even hold 17 rounds.
Right. The slide action.
The slide action was easy. Yeah, easy for that's what we were just talking about. We usually point the females in that direction in the building because a lot of them, the hand strength isn't as much as theirs as us. But
not to mention when you get in a situation like that, even though we have hand strength, you never know. Your hands could be slippery. You know what I mean? So that matters.
The Delta actually has a grip on it that is kind of serrated a little bit, and you can actually, it stays in your hand. If I were to talk about that a little bit, the slide action is really easy to cock back and forth. It's really easy to drop the slide as well, which is using your thumb. And I mean, for the price they're going for right now, I mean, you really cannot find a better pistol for the money.
For that price, I actually think about picking one up just to have another one in a place around the house.
Might as well pick two up at that price.
Cool.
So, Rick, I'd love to ask you guys some more about your guys' business and what you guys do. So you talked about, all your escort services and stuff like that for property and, even people and whatnot. I'd be curious to know, are your personnel just operating here in the States, or do you guys operate worldwide?
Well, I am so glad you asked that. We have one of our personnel actually lives in Central America. He's a retired ATF agent, was the regional advisor attaché for all Central America, and he retired in El Salvador, and he's attached to active crisis, and he does due diligence for banks and for other corporations. And so anybody need any assistance in all of Central America, he's there. One of our other guys retired attaché out of Bogota, Colombia, and he's still very familiar with everything there. And Fred brings to the table numerous former DS agents. They're in the area doing security work for different companies, and we have those personnel on call, so we could travel literally around the world to assist you in providing security. But I got to hit on something, and this is kind of funny. When you travel overseas, when you're not with a government agency, it's not like the movie Taken. You don't show up in a hotel and somebody gives you a suitcase full of guns and grenades and knives and everything. These guys are on their own. Their protection is the phone, their knowledge of the area, and the how, and a radio if they have it. So that's one thing Americans have to realize: when you send somebody in to help you, the knowledge of the country and the experience providing security in the past is what's important. Just because you're a law enforcement officer doesn't make you a professional at providing security training, security protocols. So we have many of these persons on call, and of course, what's it going to cost? It's going to cost you some money, but everything depends on the risk and what do you want to spend to mitigate the risk in your product, your person, your product, your facility.
Okay, that's all good stuff. That's good to know. Definitely a lot of good information out there, and definitely makes those services available to almost anybody. So obviously that's going to lead to the next question there, Rick. What does something like all of this kind of cost? Just kind of ballparking and stuff like that. Is this something that maybe an average business that's really concerned about their security can afford?
Absolutely. We have different levels of providing security. And of course, when you're talking about moving a person or high-end product, it's going to cost more. And I'm not going to talk about price. But if you're a gun shop, you're a corporation, and you want one of our personnel to come in and teach you all of the things that we discussed plus more, then we'll negotiate a price, because if it's only one person, it's going to be less than if you have 50 persons, or you have 3 buildings, you have 4 buildings. So everything it gets added in, and we develop a contract. And one of the things that is that Jared is an attorney, so everything that we do is attorney based.
Got it. That's awesome that you guys have an attorney on staff to be able to disseminate all that kind of stuff, and especially with the contracts, because obviously everybody, they're going to want it in black and white, what they're expecting to get and whatnot. So that kind of leads to, I guess, my next question with you, Rick, is now with everybody kind of being on lockdown and, all the states, just going to this, stay home kind of measures and don't be out and about in public. Obviously, it's kind of hard for anybody like yourself or any of your associates to travel, obviously, to give this training, especially when, everybody's obviously concerned about their security and their safety at this point. So are you guys doing anything as far as teleconferencing and video training or anything like that?
Fred and I actually discussed that this weekend because of this, and because it kind of went by me. And Fred said, we can do a large portion of this through teleconference. Of course, it's not the same, but it's better than not have any information whatsoever. So if a company is interested in teleconference, we would definitely be willing to talk to them and negotiate a contract. Fred, you want to add a little bit to that?
Sure. I've done a lot of the training, in front of the people. I've done some over like a Skype business or things like that. A lot of the type of training appears to be some of the common sense, but people lose their common sense during a time of crisis. And a lot of these things, once you encapsulate them and bring the important parts to it, preparation. We served at embassies overseas. Our biggest thing was emergency action plans. That accounted from natural disasters to bio disasters to physical rioting, civil unrest. There's a lot of things that can be done that we can work with businesses and organizations right now to help them better during this time, because we're not sure what next week's going to look like. So within that one, like Rick mentioned earlier about the home stuff, start at the house. Make an assessment of what you have at your house, how to get in and out your egresses, how to get off the second floor, given a fire or something. But the other stuff is start develop an emergency action plan. And when we use tripwires, and what do I mean by that? Tripwires, when I served in Beirut, we had certain tripwires in place, such as civil unrest. If the airport's closed, that was a tripwire, and generally then the ambassador went back to Washington. We ordered people out of the country, because then we would be locked down. So a tripwire here domestically could be, right now, Rick and I are on the East Coast here, and the food supply, I see trucks, 18-wheelers, going to your Walmarts, your big box stores and stuff. They're still moving big items and food. So there's no food shortages. So a tripwire may be, once there becomes some food shortages, then what should you do? I don't want to sit here and say everybody stock up on things, but you got to be prepared. So those types of tripwires. Also, scouring about your area. Have there been more home invasions? Those types of things. Those could be, when you start seeing a lot more of those, that could be a tripwire where, wow, I need to harden up my safe haven a little bit better, rather than just lock the front door. I need to think about a couple things there. So, you can work with businesses because people have inventory and they may not have someone at work there. So
yeah, definitely.
Unless they have an alarm system and you don't know what the response is for police, so they may be dealing with more civil unrest than responding to an alarm at a business company there. So it's on the business to set up, what's their contingency plans? What are they going to do about their stored inventory that they have so looters don't get at it?
Yeah,
So, the emergency action plans from a business point of view, from a personal point of view, are big. And those are things that we can work with organizations and companies.
Yeah,
Individual.
It's interesting you say that because we have a market just down the street over here that a lot of us like to eat at every single day. And they are, because the casinos are shut down at the moment here in Vegas, they're actively worried about their protection every single day because they have produce, they have food, and they're worried that, somebody may get a little unrest and they may come in and they may try and actually rob them. So we actually worked with the owner a little bit, and we actually got him armed up with, do you guys know what a Vepr 12 shotgun is? I'm guessing you guys know.
I have one in my closet.
Have one in your closet, yeah. So you know how good the weapon is, Rick. So we actually got him armed up with a Vepr 12 shotgun. And he's got a 10-round magazine on that thing. It's semi-automatic. I know we were talking about shotguns a little bit earlier, but we got him armed up with that, and we also got him armed up with an Arex Delta pistol with a 17-round magazine as well. And so he's pretty much covered to take care of any threats that may or may not happen on his property right now. And because he's definitely worried about, if there's a food shortage or something like that, he'd be the first one to get hit. But anyways, with all that said, guys, I just want to thank you guys again for being on the show today and talking with us and sharing some of your expertise about everything you guys do. Once again, this has been, Fred and Rick with Active Crisis Consulting. If you guys want to reach out to them, we'll have a link below, and you guys can look them up. And Rick said he was going to give out his 10 steps. For dealing with these situations, and we're going to be happy to share those with you guys as well. And obviously, we'll leave their contact information below as well. And we encourage you, if your company, your business, or even you as an individual would like to reach out to them for their services, please feel free to do that. They're obviously the experts in their industry, and they have a ton of experience. So once again, gentlemen, thank you for being on today. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and call it a wrap.
Hey, thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thanks
Rick.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Fred.